Hey y'all, this is William from Perma Pastures Farm, and today I'm going to show you how I turn this chunk of wood, which is maple, red maple by the way, into a usable spoon. All right, so about this time last year is when I got into greenwood carving or slöjd carving. Slöjd is a Swedish word. I think it translates to simple. So simple carving. And the simple part is are the tools you use. I'm gonna use nothing more than this slöjd knife, this hook knife, or a spoon knife. And also these hatchets. Now these two knives right here are both made by Mora. A lot of people know them for their survival knives, but they also do slöjd knives as well, and hook knives. A couple other companies. This is a Feel, I think, or Pfeil or something. I don't know, it's a Swedish word. This is another version of a spoon knife. It has less of a bend to it compared to this one. This is a compound slöjd knife. This is just a compound spoon knife, and this is just a open spoon knife, I believe. I don't know. There's a bunch of options on all of them, really. And then these two hatchets are basically just Fisker carving hatchets. I don't think they're intended for carving. I use them for carving. These two are really good, cheap hatchets that hold an edge well. Fisker's a good brand. Especially right now, it's hard to find any kind of carving tools because all the places that do all the carving tools are basically shut down or have a 2-year wait. And I don't want to wait 2 years to start carving, so Fisker it is for now. So I started about a year ago, and by no means am I a professional. This is just how I carve spoons. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split this log into a usable chunk, basically. And it's been cut and sitting for a couple of days now, but you can see this natural crack that's developed right here. I'm gonna use that natural crack to go ahead and split this log in half. So I'm just gonna line up my hatchets. I'm gonna grab both of them. You can use like splitting wedges or fro, whatever you wanna use. I'm gonna use this. And now you can see right here that it's formed that crack. And I'm just gonna follow that through until it splits for me. All right, so now you can see the crack has increased. I'm just gonna pry on these two. Put that down on my gloves. I feel like Captain America in that one Marvel movie where he rips open that log with his hands. So these are the two pieces I'm left with. Now looking at this grain, I can see that this gets all curly right in here and in here. But the other half, on the other side of this pith line, which is the very center of the tree, this side is really, really straight grain. That's gonna be the easiest to carve, so that's what I'm gonna do. So now I have two halves right now. I'm gonna go ahead and do a radial split right down this line. So now you can see, we've got that radial split. It's a little wavy down here, but it's nothing we can't handle. You'll see that there's the heartwood right here, which is red, and then there's the sapwood right here, which is white. Now I want to incorporate this heartwood into the piece because it's a really pretty color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split right across here like that. So that way when I dig into the spoon, I'm exposing some of that heartwood. So I'm basically just going to clean up this and turn it into a usable billet. we have two different pieces. This was the outside, and it fit together like this. Now the orientation of this wood is going to be important here in a minute. I want the top of the spoon to be facing the bark side, basically, in this particular application. The reason for that is because as I dig down into the wood, it's going to increase the amount of growth rings that are going to be exposed in the spoon, which is going to make for a prettier spoon. The next step is I'm going to go ahead and cut in my crank. So the crank on the spoon is basically the curve between the handle and the bowl. How the tip of the bowl kind of curves up and the end of the handle curves up away from the bottom of the bowl. It makes for an easier eating experience and stuff like that, and just makes for a prettier looking spoon. The opposite of a crank is basically a flat spoon. A lot of flat spoons are like your cooking spoons, your stirring spoons, maybe tasting spoons. Some teaspoons are flat. This is going to be basically a simple eating spoon. So I'm going to go ahead and cut in that crank. And to do that, I'm just going to cut in a line right here to the desired length. I'm going to go ahead and create this little vise system that I've developed where I stab that hatchet in. Actually, I'm going to stab it a little closer to me. Brace the wood up underneath it. And then I'll go ahead and take this little simple handsaw and go ahead and cut my crank in. There we go. And this vise system works actually pretty well. Especially if you don't have like a wood vise or a bench vise or carving vise. There's some carving, like a sawhorse, bowl clamp, stuff like that. If you don't have access to that, that system works pretty well. So this is going to be the handle side, and this is going to be the bowl side. I'm going to go ahead and slope this side down to the bottom of that cut, which you can see right there. And then this side, I'm also going to slope down into that cut. So I'm going to attack this in thirds. I'm going to bring this corner down to that line, and then I'm going to bring this quarter down into that line, and then I'm going to bring the middle down to that line, and then I'll flip it over and do the same thing to the other side. Just some small relief cuts, and then I'll connect the lines, and then once I get to basically right here is where I want to be careful, because I don't want to cut into that next. I don't want to cut into this side from this angle, or else I'm losing more crank. I'm basically splitting the wood, and that's not going to make a good spoon. So just real gentle once I get to there. And then I'm going to go to this third. And once I start getting closer, I'll kind of pry my hatchet out, create that gap that my hatchet can just slide right through. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down and slope it down to meet this point in the middle. There's basically two ways to go about doing this. You can either hold it like this and attack it from this angle, or you can hold it up like this and attack it from this angle. I prefer this method right here. It's a little bit sketchy, just because your hand is so close, but I leave extra up here at the top so I have something to hold on to. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and I'm going to attack it in thirds again. Now I'm just going to clean up the middle a little bit, get all this loose stuff out of here so I can go ahead and draw my pattern on there. And even here, you can start to see the difference in the growth rings. So we're going against the curvature of the growth rings, which is increasing the amount of growth rings that are going to be in this spoon, that are going to be visible in this spoon. And these are easy enough to make. I just grabbed those flexible cutting board mats. Got them at the store for like $1. And I'll draw on my pattern. If I like it, I'll cut it out. If I don't, I'll erase it. And it turns into a pretty solid template. So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw this on. And you don't have to use a template. If you just want to free draw something, that's fine too. Here is my spoon, and you can see where that crank lines up. You usually want 1/3 of your bowl on the top side of the crank and 2/3 of the bowl over, well, 1/3 of the bowl on the bottom side, and then 2/3 on the top side. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and bring this edge in closer to this spoon bowl. And then I'll put in a couple relief cuts here and then here. So that way, whenever I'm axing, I don't split through the bowl. So I'll go ahead and start with those relief cuts. So there's my stop cuts. And now I'm gonna go ahead and start axing the handle part out. I'm gonna loosen some of this. I'm gonna lose some of this thickness here. And that's basically how a stop cut works. So it was together like this. I put in my axe, split it. Now it's that far. All right, so the handle is roughed out a little bit, so now I'm gonna start working on the bowl. So here is the roughed out spoon. And now you can see what I'm talking about with the crank. Here's the bottom of the crank. The handle goes up that way and the tip of the bowl goes that way. So that's basically it for the axe work and stuff like that, the roughing out work. But here's part of that heartwood. A lot of it was removed just because I misjudged the depth of this spoon. A lot of it was removed, but we get to keep a little bit at the bottom of this bowl. And we'll try to keep as much of that as possible. But now we're going to move over to the knife work. And before we go any further, I should say, if you guys are wanting knives, we have them, or not knives, if you guys are wanting spoons, we have them for sale on the website. Also, if you're wanting a specific piece that you don't see for sale on there, there will be a commission area, like commission a piece of work, where you can go in and request specifically what you're wanting. or you can message me on Instagram and we can figure it out there. I also do bowls and stuff like that as well. That's a bit of a different process. This process is just a simple eating spoon. But I'm gonna go ahead and just true up everything, get everything square and parallel, and everything that needs to be perpendicular, go ahead and get that perpendicular. And that's just gonna make it easier to move on from there. There's a couple different knife grips I'm using. This one, and they're all safe, by the way. So this one, I'm basically pushing the spoon up against my chest, and I'm using I have my elbow locked in, and I'm just pulling the knife towards me. You need to follow grain direction whenever you're using these tools and stuff like that. So you need to cut either perpendicular to or with the grain. So this is one knife technique that you can use. You can be very, very accurate. You can remove a lot of material all at once as well. It's a little awkward when you first do it, but once you get a hang of it, it works pretty well. This is also just the thumb push grip, so I lock everything in. And then hold the knife with my right hand and push the knife with my left. I'm gonna go ahead and take these gloves off. And then just release those fibers. This is a grip that is often overused by a lot of people. They'll because they're not comfortable with the other grips, they'll use this one instead of maybe this grip, or even what's called the chest lever. So when I hold it in this end, have the edge pointing away from me, and I draw my knife along the wood like that. It just takes practice. You just got to get used to it and find what works for you. You can also do a grip called the potato peeler, which is basically like you would peel potatoes. Now, a lot of people make the mistake and pull into their thumb. You want to pull to the outside or inside of your thumb. You don't want to pull it into your thumb, basically. If you pull it to the outside or inside, that's up to you. Just don't pull it into. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of these rough spots out. Make sure everything's even on thickness. It's about the thickness I want. And I'm gonna take this bottom. This is still kind of steep right here. We don't need a bowl that deep. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that part out and try to keep as much heartwood as possible. Now I'm just trying to make sure the edge of the spoon is all about the same thickness. I'm gonna switch tools here. Turn my stump around a little bit so it's a little more comfortable to sit. All right, so now I'm gonna switch over to my spoon knives. Before that, I'm gonna hollow out this center basically. Before I do that, I'm gonna take this black colored pencil and I'm gonna press it up against my middle finger like that. And I'm gonna let the edge, or my middle finger, go around the edge of the spoon blank. And then my colored pencil is going to draw an even line around the edge of the spoon. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that down. And the first one I'm gonna use is this open-faced spoon knife right here. Now you can there's two different methods. You can either go across the grain like this or with the grain like this. If you go with the grain, it leaves a smoother finish. If you go across the grain, you don't need your tools as sharp. So it's just a little personal preference for you. And I'm gonna carve all the way up to that line that we just drew. And the knife is going to stop once I hit the bottom of that crank. I'm just going to leave these feathers in, and then I'll attack it from the other side. All right, so there's that. Now I'm going to attack it from the other side. There we go. It just fell right out. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get the desired thickness. And then if they're still stuck there, you can just drag your knife across and relieve all those fibers. Now I'm just tidying up any loose ends I'm seeing here. And this spoon is going to be carved in 2 stages, basically. The first part is whenever it's wet and easy to carve, and we're going to get the general shape of the spoon. The second stage is after it has dried. And once it's dried, it'll move a little bit. We'll make some adjustments for that. It'll also oxidize, and we'll get all of that off, all that discoloration and stuff like that off. There we go. That's part 1. This is the spoon so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry, and that usually takes about 1 to 2 days, depending on the environment. For spoons, I use a natural walnut oil. It's food safe. It's a polymerizing oil. So what that basically means is that as it cures, as it dries, well, as it cures, it becomes hard. And it's non-toxic. It's food safe. You can drink the bottle of walnut oil if you want to. I don't recommend that, but you can. The only limitation is that if people have nut allergies, then they want to stay away from using it until it is fully cured, and it usually takes about 2 weeks to fully cure. It'll be dry way longer, or way sooner than that, but for it to fully cure, it takes about 2 weeks. So I'm gonna set this off to the side, put it somewhere safe, let it dry, and then I'll come back and do the finishing cuts. So if you guys have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.